Did you know that every single human being on this planet traces their origins back to Africa? For hundreds of thousands of years, the continent has been at the forefront of human evolution and civilization. But the story of Africa is so much richer and more complex than many history books lead us to believe. This is African History Illustrated, a journey through time and across a vibrant continent. We'll explore the rise and fall of empires, the flow of trade, the devastating impact of slavery and colonialism, and the enduring spirit of resistance and innovation. Buckle up, because this is a story you won't forget. Our journey begins in the mists of time, long before the pyramids of Egypt or the empires of Europe. Africa is the cradle of humankind. Evidence from sites across the continent paints a clear picture. This is where our species took its first steps. Consider the finds at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, fossils dated to an astonishing 315,000 years ago. And then there's Omo Kaibish in Ethiopia, with remains pushing back the timeline even further. And Herto, also in Ethiopia, dating back 160,000 years. These discoveries tell us that African history starts not with written records, but with the very origins of humanity itself. From these ancient roots, complex societies began to emerge. Ancient Egypt, with its majestic pyramids and powerful pharaohs, is perhaps the most well-known. But Egypt was not alone. To the south, in what is now southern Egypt and northern Sudan, lay Nubia, a civilization every bit as sophisticated and powerful. The Kushite kingdom, with its capitals at Napata and Meroe, rivaled Egypt in its artistic and military prowess. The 25th dynasty of Egypt was even ruled by Kushite kings, including the formidable Pir, Shabaka, and Taharqa. Taharqa's reign extended across both Egypt and Nubia, and his name appears in historical records from as far away as Assyria. Moving eastward, across the Red Sea, we encounter another major power, the Kingdom of Aksum. Rising in present-day Ethiopia and Eritrea in the 1st century CE, Aksum became a major player in global trade, connecting the Mediterranean, Arabia, and India. Under King Ezana in the 4th century, Aksum embraced Christianity, becoming one of the first Christian kingdoms in the world. Aksum's wealth and power are reflected in its coinage, making it one of the few African kingdoms to mint its own money in antiquity. Now, let's journey west, across the vast Sahara Desert, to the lands of West Africa. Here, a series of powerful empires rose and fell, shaping the course of trans-Saharan trade and culture. First, there was the Ghana Empire, flourishing from the 6th to the 13th centuries CE. Centered in parts of present-day Mauritania and Mali, Ghana controlled the lucrative trade in gold and salt that crossed the Sahara. In the 13th century, as Ghana declined, the Mali Empire rose to take its place. Founded by Sundiata Keita, who defeated the Soso ruler Sumaro Kunte at the Battle of Kirina, Mali became one of the largest and wealthiest empires in the world. The reign of Mansa Musa, from 1312 to 1337 CE, marked the pinnacle of Mali's power. His pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 CE became legendary for its extravagance and scale. His lavish spending in Cairo reportedly caused gold prices to plummet. After Mali's decline, the Songhai Empire emerged as the dominant power in West Africa. Under Askia Muhammad I, also known as Askia the Great, Songhai reached its peak in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. Centered on the cities of Gao, Timbuktu, and Jen, Songhai controlled vast territories and commanded a powerful army. However, Songhai's reign came to an end in 1591, when it was conquered by the Moroccan Sadi invasion after the Battle of Tondibi. These West African empires were not just centers of political and economic power, they were also centers of learning and culture. Timbuktu, in present-day Mali, became renowned from the 14th to the 16th centuries as a hub of scholarship, Islamic law, astronomy, and manuscript culture. Institutions like Sankore attracted scholars and students from across the Muslim world. Tens of thousands of manuscripts, carefully preserved for centuries, attest to the rich intellectual heritage of Timbuktu and the wider Saharan and Sahelian regions. Let's now shift our focus to the east, to the Swahili coast of East Africa. From the 8th century CE onward, city-states like Kilwa, Mombasa, Malindi, Zanzibar, and Lamu became key nodes in the Indian Ocean trade network. These cities traded with Arabia, Persia, India, and China, exchanging goods like gold, ivory, slaves, and spices for textiles, porcelain, and other luxury items. Swahili culture emerged through the interaction of African, Arab, and Persian influences, creating a unique and vibrant blend of traditions. The coastal societies formed the foundation of this cultural synthesis. But the story of Africa is not just one of empires and trade. In the 15th century, a new and devastating force arrived on the continent's shores: European maritime expansion. The Portuguese began exploring the coast of Africa, seeking new trade routes and resources. This marked the beginning of the Atlantic slave trade, a brutal and inhumane system that would have a profound and lasting impact on Africa. Over the next 4 centuries, an estimated 12 million to 12.5 million Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean. Roughly 10.7 million survived the horrific journey and arrived in the Americas. Major embarkation regions included West Central Africa, the Bight of Benin, the Bight of Biafra, the Gold Coast, and Sierra Leone. The Atlantic slave trade reconfigured politics, warfare, population patterns, and economics across Africa, leaving deep scars that persist to this day. In the late 19th century, European powers turned their attention to colonizing the continent. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 formalized the partition of Africa, with European powers carving up the continent without any African representation. Britain, France, Belgium, Germany, Portugal, Italy, and Spain all claimed territories, imposing their rule and exploiting Africa's resources. The Congo Free State, personally controlled by King Leopold II of Belgium, became notorious for its extreme violence and exploitation in the rubber trade. But even in the face of colonialism, Africans resisted. From armed uprisings to political movements, Africans fought for their freedom and independence. After World War II, the tide began to turn. Decolonization accelerated, with African countries gaining their independence one by one. Libya became independent in 1951. Ghana, under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, became the first sub-Saharan African colony to gain independence in 1957, a watershed moment in African history. Nigeria gained independence in 1960. Algeria, after a brutal war with France, became independent in 1962. And in 1994, South Africa finally ended formal apartheid, electing Nelson Mandela as its first president. Africa's fight for freedom and equality was a long and arduous one, but it ultimately prevailed. Today, Africa is a continent of vibrant and diverse nations, each with its own unique history, culture, and challenges. From the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Nubia to the modern-day struggles for democracy and development, Africa's story is one of resilience, innovation, and enduring human spirit. But there are lesser-known details of that story. Beyond Egypt, Africa possessed sophisticated manuscript cultures in places like Timbuktu and Chinguetti, where families preserved handwritten documents on law, medicine, astronomy, and trade. Aksum minted gold, silver, and bronze coins, signaling its authority and trade sophistication. Great Zimbabwe, a major stone-built city, was a hub for cattle, gold, and Indian Ocean trade. Female political leaders like Queen Amanirenas of Kush, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba, and Yera Santwe of Asante shaped history. Trans-Saharan trade networks existed long before Europeans arrived, linking gold, salt, and textiles. Ethiopia resisted colonization, defeating Italy at the Battle of Adwa. Madagascar's mixed origins reflect Austronesian ancestry. This is just a glimpse into the vast and complex history of Africa, a continent that continues to shape the world we live in today. Savannah landscape at sunrise, golden light washing over acacia trees, no people, cinematic 8K.